The Lunaverse by Rainbow Double Dash. Episode 23, Elements of Insanity by Emeral Bookwise. Chapter 10, Opened Up My Eyes. What? Twilight yelled, practically tossing aside the other 4 ponies in her alarm. But, Lemon Hearts, you can't be serious. The amulet's corrupting influence is too dangerous to actually use it. Now, take it off quick before it gets in your head. Oh, I assure you, Miss Sparkle. Lemonheart spoke with a trill to short, dismissive laughter. I'm more than sufficiently experienced at massing corrupting influence. Twilight stood aghast. At first, because she was unable to comprehend this sudden change of demeanor and informally gentle matron. Yes, there had been that gruesome bluff she made with the dragon, but this? No, it had to be something else. Where the mission failed, maybe Heaven Hearts was only donning the amulet as an act of desperation, some precaution in case the dragon. A looming shadow rose over Heaven Hearts. Tut, tut, little pony. Deal or no deal. I'm afraid I can't let you take that amulet. Heaven Hearts didn't turn her head or make any other attempt to flee as the dragon lunged forward to attack. Instead, she only casually lifted her tail. The hairs at the tip splitting apart and taking on a semblance of animate digits, which then flicked against each other with an audible snap. There was an instantaneous flash and the dragon was gone. Replaced the small mewling kitten, which hung on for a brief moment in the air, before abruptly falling helplessly to the floor. Twilight stared in shock at what should have been an impossible act of magic. Even with the corn amulet, a transmutation of that level should have at least taken some visible effort. But Lemon Hearts didn't even seem to cast a spell at all. It was as though she simply made it happen by sheer will alone. Surprised, my dear? The elder unicorn blinked, revealing hideously unnatural eyes. Gone now was the warm, motherly rose, replaced by beady red pupils against the sickly yellow sclera. I told you before, I was a pony of many talents. And I suppose I did promise to teach you a few tricks. Now seems as good as the time as any to start our lessons, don't you think? She began walking slowly towards Twilight with a menacing gait. However, Lemon Hearts couldn't even finish 3 steps before a weight led to top her back. Silver Star pinned the unicorn to the ground. I didn't should have known you was trouble all along. I could feel something wasn't right with you. Lemon Hearts only grinned nonchalantly, her mouth somehow now filled with sharp predatory fangs. Why, Mr. Star, is this how you treat a lady? I don't know what you are, but you ain't no lady. He then bore his teeth down on the amulet's clasp and yanked it with all his might. The pony beneath him merely chortled as he wrapped her magical aura, now red instead of teal about him, and effortlessly levitated him away like a mere foal. Really now? Do you think it would be that easy? Were you even paying attention when Miss Sparkle here first told us about the amulet? The clasp can only be undone by the wearer. She then levitated him upside down in front of her face. Besides, you only got close enough to try because I let you. I should warn you, however. Her voice shifted into a snarl. My patience has its limits. Then, just as quickly, her voice changed to a mocking Chinese of an Indian mother scolding a helpless child. Now, be a good little girl and don't play rough with Mama again. She did casually toss him aside as if he were nothing. Perhaps compared to her, that's all he was. All any of them were. Snowflake flew up and caught the other stallion before he could crash to the floor. As the two came down gently, Lucy went running to Silver Star's side to make sure he was okay. Twilight turned to plead yet one more time. Look, Lemon Hearts, this isn't you. It can't be. It's the amulet. It's gotten inside your head and it's twisting your mind, driving you mad with power. At first there was only silence, then a low chuckling that steadily built into an unsteadily maniacal laughter. Really now, young Miss Sparkle, is that what you think? No, child. This is very much the real me. The me that I have tried to hide away from the world for so many decades. But no more! The matriarch's declaration was resonated briefly throughout the chamber, and an augmented timbre, not like the royal Carolot voice. Oh, she cooed, her voice filled with a lustful ecstasy. And does it ever feel so good to cast away my mask and throw caution to the wind? No more slinking in the shadows, being afraid of discovery. She then bellowed in triumphant glee. With the power of this amulet, I needn't hold back my true abilities ever again! This amulet isn't driving me mad. No, quite the contrary. It's finally set me free and given me full control of the legacy that was always my birthright! Birthright? What are you talking about, Lemon Hearts? You aren't making any sense. I'm making perfect sense, child. You merely lack the perspective to understand. She paused then, as her ears swiveled about. But I lack the time to educate you. Not when I can already hear them calling out to me in the night. What are you talking about? The Twilight heard too, the sound of her hostess shouting. Turning quickly, she called out to her other compatriots. It's the guards! We have to get out of here! No, not them, Lemonheart said distractedly while gazing off vaguely into some unknown distance. It's the other children. All those lost souls set adrift in the sea of this meaningless life. They know not to kiss their waste, but soon enough, every last one of them will be mine. All mine! Lemonheart again grunted with paratory intent as he lifted into the air on a pair of leathery purple wings that... Wait, wings? Twilight blinked. When had Lemonheart's conjured those? Again, there had been build-up, no weaving of magical energies. The wings had just appeared from nowhere. If Lemonheart had noticed confusion in the younger unicorn, she paid it no mind. Instead, she simply went to the ceiling and raised a hoof, the flight of which flexed in an impossible manner. With another snap and a flash, part of the ceiling as well as all the ground above was now suddenly water instead. Lemonheart hovered in the air a moment, holding an umbrella that she acquired from nowhere in her other hoof, to shield herself from a sudden torrential downpour. She looked down one last time upon the other ponies. It's been fun, but Mama doesn't have time to play with you anymore. Do take care as best you can, though. Then with a flap of her wings and a flick of her tail, she shot off, a wisping trail of smoke and sparks trailing after her as though she were a rocket. The 5 now drenched ponies sputtered and choked as they tried to regain their wits. They had precious little time, though, as the sound of approaching guards drew ever close. Rushing for the vault door, Silverstar yelled out, Still for it! I hope it will last. The 2 Stannies began to push with all their might, but the door was heavy and slow to move. Then, a sudden magical aura joined the others in their efforts. With one mighty shove, slammed the door shut with a deafening thud. Silverstar turned and tipped his hat to Twilight. Don't thank me yet. That probably won't hold him for very long.
I'll work on your right.
Silverstar then glanced up, eyeing the hole in the ceiling.
Twi, you got enough magic to live Clover and Lucy at the same time?
Sure, but...
No buts, girl. Snowflake, you pick up Twi, fly her out here before she carries the others. I'm entrusting you to keep every pony safe, you hear?
Snowflake gave a sharp salute. Lucy, however, became distressed as he realized. Wait! No, Silver, we just can't leave you behind.
No arguments, Lucy. If those guards don't cast at least one pull in a hair, they'll lock down the whole city till they found us. I can at least put up enough of a fight to buy the rest of y'all time as far away as you can. Now skedaddle, all of you.
Her jaw trembled. Lucy hesitantly made a step towards Silverstar. She was scared, but she couldn't let them. With a little warning, however, magical aura wrapped around her as she felt herself lifted off the ground. Turning her head, she saw Snowflake, his hose hooked under Twilight Sparkle's legs as the unicorn used magic to levitate the other 2 mares. Clover charged, tickled. Hey, that's a good. She flailed lightly about, causing herself to weightlessly spin upside down. Don't squirm! Groaned Twilight through Great Chief. Living only makes this harder! If Lucy were a brave pony, she might have squirmed, but the broken magical unicorn's grip, against all rational self-preservation, stayed by Silverstar's hide. Lucy, however, was not a brave pony, yet she couldn't sit by and leave the stallion behind. Please, Miss Sparkle, there has to be some other... But she turned to look at her beloved sheriff. All words died on her tongue. For a single instant their eyes locked. Her is desperately pleading that he come with her. His plea just as desperately that she run away while still had a chance. Kiss each other, darn it! The moment passed all too quickly, as Silverstar averted his gaze. As the stallion turned to face the fate he had chosen, Lucy could only sob silently as he lifted past the edge of the tunnel. Her heart broke as she caught what fear might be the last sight of the love she so longed for. It was actually pretty beautiful. There was a clatter as the silver glass fell to the ground, and immediately crushed by a brown hoof. Silverstar twisted the further grinding trinket apart, hoping that would be enough to ruin whatever magic Twilight had woven into it, and so prevent it from being used to trace her. Just to be safe, he tossed the fragments away, scattering them all into the chambers to be lost among the countless treasures. Minutes passed as Silverstar composed himself, while surveying the surroundings, taking note of how to best use the available terrain to his advantage in the coming battle. The pounding on the door had stopped, but he knew better to think that meant the guards had given up. Not even one matter if they did, he had no way to actually escape. Glancing sideways, he took note of the kitten sitting on a nearby treasure pile, glaring at him.
Guess you'll be looking forward to seeing me get what's coming now, don't you?
The feline merely bristled and hissed softly. The little fuzzball was so weak and helpless now that its attempts to affect its threatening stature would almost be cute. That is, if not for the fact that only all too recently it had been a large, fighter-brained reptile bent on eating Silverstar as accomplices.
Look,
Silverstar continued,
I know you must be angry or something fierce, and I know I have no right to ask favors of you. If you ever do get back turned to normal, though, I'm begging you, please don't hurt the others. Well, I suppose you got a valid grievance against that you'll see, devil. Well, please. If you haven't got any compassion in your heart, just lead the others play. If you'll need more playback, let it come from outside. You can even consider the being I'm about to take here for no scars at the hell payment.
The former dragon's only paw was a high-pitched, rattling purr. He did have time to contemplate its meaning. However, before it, a clink creak, the vault door finally swung open. Silverstar stood up fleetly as over a dozen guards took up positions, surrounding him from all sides. With a tip of his hat, the trail stallion spoke.
Evening, Giants.
Jensen mounted in the silent stillness of the vault, until it finally broke with a roar as the first of the guards charged. The tunnel had emptied out into the manor's back gardens, and now the four remaining intruders snuck carefully through the shadows. Twilight's violet eyes peered through the bushes at a nearby delivery gate in the wall, only to find more guards. "No good here either," she whispered. Nervously, Lucy asked, Can we sneak all the way out to the front?" "Maybe, but there will be only more guards. Plus, who knows how many witnesses for the festival outside." "Well then, maybe we could get back inside the manor and wait for..." "Wait for what? We still have to make a break for it eventually, and the longer we're here, the more likely we'll get caught."
"Yeah, I know,"
conjectured Clover. "You could cast a magic ring spell on all of us, but that's fine away, easy peasy." "Huh?" Twilight tilted her head, trying to puzzle what Clover meant, before remembering the opening ceremonies earlier this evening. Had it really been that recently? Twilight felt as though this foolish quest of hers had taken years. "Oh, that spell?" the unicorn continued. "It's far too complicated and flashy. Somebody would be sure to spot us if I tried. Besides, I doubt I could even cast it 3 times in quick succession." Clover crossed her forehead in disappointment. "I suppose I could try teleporting us all, but the flash would probably still draw too much attention just the same. Plus, as best as I can tell, that wall has a warding charm on it that would sound an alarm anyway. Probably take us all with a tracking spell, too. It'd be the same problem if we even had Snowflake fly out each by one."
"Can't you? I just don't know account of it. I mean, you're supposed to be the best at magic."
"I'm the best, but my talent is magic, not miracles. I need time to study the ward, and that's not something that's really on our side right now." Snowflake opened his mouth as to contribute his own idea, but found it literally zipped shut by Twilight's magic, lest his poor volume control give away their precision. As the Pegasus fumbled awkwardly to free his lips, Lucy spoke up. "Oh, all right, but hiding could maybe still work. Everything still seems normal at the party, so we only need to wait for the guests to start leaving. Then we can just blend in with the crowd." "No good, even if I hadn't lost my disguise." Twilight says she again glanced back at her restored flank. "It's likely only still quiet at the party because Poussons has a reputation to maintain. The guards will probably be discreetly monitoring the guests as they depart, checking for any point that doesn't belong. Unless... She rubbed a hoof across the bottom of her chin in contemplation. Unless we can figure out a way to make sure every point rusts out all at once. Inside the manor, the guests continued to mill about, none the wiser to the actions of any interloping trespassers. As the group of nobles near one corner of the ballroom politely chatted, one of their number slowly started to sniff the air.
Do you smell that? You're just imagining things. Now then, as I was saying... No, wait. I smell it too. It smells like... smoke?
From the adjoining hallway, Twilight Sparkle concentrated on an ever-expanding smoke screen. Now, of course, even if the guests fell for the ruse, most would be disciplined enough to calmly make their way out to the courtyard. That was where Clover and Snowflake, who had already made their way back to the crowded room, came into play.
Fire! It's a fire! Everybody for themselves! Yeah!
The panicked shouts quickly spread from one point to the next. It wasn't long until a veritable stampede flooded out to the hall. Twilight merged with the rampaging herd. Now came the hard part. As she ran, she had to keep kissing additional smoke screens at doorways and intersections. He started stealing the crowd until they reached the front doors. Bursting into the open courtyard, she could hear Clover shouting, "Click! Go to the gates! Run! 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 Yeah!" For guards on duty, it must have been a sight to behold. The absurdity of stampeding a herd of finely dressed ponies bearing down upon them. The armored guards blinked in stunned relief. They barely even noticed when a unicorn's magic forcefully flung the gilded gates behind them open, having only enough time to recover their wits and take the only sane course of action, diving out of the way before they were trampled. Just like that, Twilight and hopefully the others made their escape. She had no clue where in the crowd her compatriots might be, but that didn't matter. They already agreed to split up. That way, even by some happenstance, whether they were followed, the others would be still able to get away. Unfortunately, just as she pushed her way past the edge of the crowd, Twilight's look ran out as she found herself face to face with probably the worst two ponies she could possibly step into. Her violet eyes stared into two pairs of green. That is, bye! She then bolted as fast as her hose could carry her. Carrot Top then blinked, glanced alongside her fellow farmer, who had just done the same. What's that? Oh, working it was, replied Applejack. Gare! And with that, the two mares for Ponyville gave chase. Does anybody find it odd that I just finished reading past Post Nuzzles, which featured a whole bunch of Applejack and Twilight scenes, and now Applejack's chasing after Twilight? Kind of weird. Twilight skidded for traction as she rounded a corner at full gallop. She didn't dare risk glancing back, but she could hear the hoofbeats of her pursuers from behind. They didn't seem to be gaining just yet, but the unicorn could already feel the strain in her protesting lungs, and knew that she just exhaust herself long enough before the pair of farm-hardened ponies would. Just as she was about to give up, her panicked mind regained just enough composure to scold her for even wasting the effort of running, which she had a far more efficient method of escape. Twilight frantically began to channel magic through her horn. Before she could actually teleport, though, the unicorn felt something constrict around her neck. As the lasso pulled tight, she found herself unceremoniously tumbling hooves over head as she landed in a heap on the ground. "Whoa there, Nillet!" Applejack called out as he dragged his blade to still dazed unicorn back. "Y'all ain't going nowhere!" By the time the stars stopped spinning, Twilight found her hooves had open securely bound by the rope. She hastily tried to challenge another teleportation spell, but just as quickly Honora's hoof smacked roughly across her horn. The throbbing pain broke her concentration. It caused the second spell to fizzle like the first. "Don't you even think about trying to know the face of unicorn tricks and escape like you did last time. I don't like a violet pony by nature. I won't hesitate to buck your lights out if I have to." Twilight winced, fearful that even if she agreed, the glaring mirror might hit her again anyway. Applejack was pushed gently aside, though, as Carrot Top leaned in to speak. "Look, Twilight, wasn't it? I know you aren't a bad pony at heart. That's why you had Trixie and Raindrops fight out the other miner back at Ponyville." "There's the she brought the town in the first place. Don't go going soft on her, Carrot. This girl ain't nothing but trouble." "Why, I bet old Buggy McGillicuddy," Applejack said as he wiggled her back left leg, "she weren't doing nothing but saving her own side of high black thing."
"I don't believe that. She could have just ran away from the start, but she didn't, and that has to count for something,"
responded Carrot Top.
but Applejack merely harumphs. Turning back to the unicorn, Carrot Top continued. So, Twilight, can you help us out here and explain what's going on? Maybe we can still fix this whole mess. I fix, but... Twilight sniffled at the weight of her mistakes, both past and present, bore down on all her at once. I screwed up again. That's what happened. I knew it! I didn't have to go drop a Starbear in my hometown. You had to come and try wrecking another town to see whatever sick, twisted fans that gets you off. No! That's not how it happened at all. Not how it was supposed to, at least. Anger mixed with shame as the unicorn rapidly lost any symbols of composure. Well, I was just trying to make a second set of elements. Don't you get it? I had to. It was the only way. I needed them so I could defeat Corona. How else could I finally prove Trixie was wrong? That she was nothing but a great big fraud, and that I was supposed to be the real elemental magic all along. Applejack blinked as she looked once to Carrot Top, then to the unicorn, before she shook her head roughly, trying to dislodge the nonsensical rant. See? I told you. This girl here is playing loco. Like nothing we could do to help her except turn and crucify again so the guard can lock her up, where she can't hurt no pony ever. Carrot Top looked uncertainly from one pony to another. It sounds crazy to me too, but then why not look? I get that Trixie can wrangle any pony the wrong way. And I guess I can understand wanting to upstage her at her own game. The truth is, I used to feel just like that with Applejack. Like it was all just unfair that she got born into success, while I had to struggle every day just to keep my own farm afloat. Carrot, Applejack stammered. I'll never. It's okay, Applejack. I don't blame you. Not anymore. Maybe you were born with all the advantages, but ever since Nottingham, I've seen just how hard you work every day to keep it that way. Not just on your farm either, but as a pillar of the entire Ponyville community. Maybe more ponies like me because I'm always cutting them cheap deals and doing them free favors. When the chip's already down, though, you're the pony they all depend on in a real crisis. Sus girl, I know those special. You're the hero. What with braving the dangers of the Everfree to retrieve them their fancy necklaces. Then, hanging her own head in respect, Applejack answered with her mother. Well, that lot of good I ever did, just bunkering down with my own kid, and all the things will pass. Maybe so, but if things hadn't worked out, at least you've still been around in the long run. We both know you'd come up with some plan efficiently, even if the best you could ever manage was to make sure every pony stayed safe and fed in whatever became of a sun-baked Equestria. Carrot Top hung her own head as he visited, tracing one hoof in an awkward circle over the ground. Meanwhile, all I did was run off on a fool's errand with a bunch of ponies I barely knew, and nearly got myself killed 2 or 3 times over. I'm no mare, if really a hero either. Just a simple mare who got lucky. Norn's hoof lifted the yellow muzzle, and both mares looked at each other for a lingering moment. Well, I reckon you're selling yourself a bit more than a match, Short Circuit Q. But thanks. Nonetheless, you're a good friend. And I like to think you all too. Carrot Top smiled to her fellow farmer who nodded back. You see, Twilight, you and Trixie don't need to be enemies either. And once this whole mess is over, maybe you could even be friends too. Twilight balked. Could it really be that simple? She thought back to how Trixie had confronted her. No, reached out to her. I'm willing to take responsibility for my part, echoed the Soulmare's words. What about you? Responsibility. Was she really willing? Weeks of living as a fugitive wore heavily upon her. All the running, all the hiding, whatever the consequences might be. Part of her just wanted to finally be over. But that was the problem, too. It's not over, though. You're not even close. You caught me too late, and now everything will only get worse. Is that supposed to be some kind of threat? Applejack warned as he raised a hoof. Twilight flinched resentively, but kept speaking. No, not a threat. One of the ponies I chose, the only pony I never doubted, was generosity I thought was beyond reproach. She's still out there somewhere, only she's not a pony. She's some kind of monster. And now because of me, she's got an ancient relic that matches an alicorn's power. I wanted to put an end to one tyrant, but instead, I think I might have created only a second. Carrot Top was having trouble making sense of all that, held by no less her fixation on a single word. Wait, generosity? Carrot Top stared flatly. You mean this other pony, monster, whatever, was supposed to be your counterpart for, well, me? Unicorn wilted before replying meekly. She nodded slowly. Yes? Narrowing her gaze, Carrot Top pressed. She's out there doing what now exactly? I don't know. The last thing she said was something about children, and then... Whatever else Twilight had to say, Carrot Top didn't hear it. Cheeks puffing out, the Earth Mare immediately shifted her gaze to the darkness of the night, with all the righteous ferocity she could muster, as if daring this impostor to show herself. Unsurprisingly, however, the farmer's futile efforts only served to add to her own mounting frustrations. She knew none of this was her fault, that she had no responsibility to stick her neck on the line. But now, having learned that this thing, whatever it was, had been supposed to her own twisted counterpart, well, now that made it all somehow personal, or something. That there were somehow children involved only made the need all the more pressing. A passing gripped her, not like how it had been on that fateful night of Corona's return. The ear-pounding Emeral seemed almost certain she could hear steam whistling from her own ears. Elsa couldn't read her Cadrian's expression. At least she could gather as it didn't make any sense. The suddenly Carrot Top turned and bolted away at full gallop. "Hi!" called out the puzzled apple farmer. "Where are you rushing off to there, girl?" Glancing back over her shoulder, she kept riding. "You two just sit tight. I have to go do my hero thing." Hero thing? Carrot Top couldn't believe she just said that. It seemed more like a cocky pony like Rainbow Dash would say. Even coming from any of her own fellow friends and heroes of destiny, it might have sounded more fitting. She couldn't help but, however, think of how lame and silly it must have sounded coming from herself. Not that she let that stop her either. As Carrot Top disappeared around the corner, Applejack muttered to herself, "Yeah, I guess I'm like Sans, or something." Even when she wasn't sure what the Carrot Top could do all on her own. More to the point, though. Well, now she even expect to find any pony at all, rushing off without kind of plan! A happy adolescent couple laughed casually between each other as they strolled home following their date. The festival outside the Factory's jubilation had been fun. Especially since both young ponies had, for the first time, convinced their respective parents that they were old enough to spend the evening unsupervised. Of course, even more so, the two were all too eager to seek off quietly and get some alone time before they were expected home. Giddy with their own excited anticipation, however, neither pony noticed that something was watching them from the shadows. Not until it was too late. And so, without any warning, the sheep lunged out from the darkness, knocking the adolescent mare aside. The pitch-black shadows of the alley made it difficult to discern what the creature was. Hooves clocked softly against the pavement as it flexed wings. Maybe a Pegasus, but there was something distinctly wrong about its gait. The silhouette of its head. Were those horns, or maybe antlers? Even through the darkness, however, the adolescent stallion could see the attacker's eyes, which almost seemed to glow, and also something more. Something that called to him, making it impossible to look away. As he stood transfixed, the snake cried out and charged the creature. Before she even made it halfway, however, the shadow figure raised a single hoof. There was a quick snap, followed by the instantaneous flash, and without warning, the mare found herself crashing into an unseen wall. Regaining her senses, she could only watch helplessly as she feebly beat her hooves against the trap. Her desperate pleas and shouts were deafened to the world beyond her spherical confines. The creature ignored the tiny snow globe and all its insignificant occupant. All that mattered was the trembling cold in front of her. "Don't fear, child. Mama's gonna make it all better." Lemonheart stared, not just into his eyes, but past them. There it was, deep inside, a dormant and wholly untapped spark of chaos. Disregarding all her narrow subtlety, she simply tore it away from the pony's soul with a singular, metaphysical tug. As the now catatonic youth collapsed to the ground, Lemonheart's rapidly devoured the newly harvested spark, eager for the rest of further power. Yet no rest came. Instead, her insatiable hunger was left entirely without even the slightest semblance of satisfaction. "No, this won't do. It isn't enough anymore. I need more sparks. Stronger sparks. All the sparks!" Staring at the motionless cell, Lemonheart contemplated. He was still young, probably still living at home with his parents. Yes, his parents. If he carried a spark too, so must one of them. And if she were lucky, many siblings as well. Ravenous desire overtook her as she eagerly looked at her lips before disappearing again into the night sky. Carrot Top's hoofbeats pounded against the pavement and echoed across the empty streets. The majority of its citizens either still enjoying the festival or else have already turned in for the evening. As she galloped up around another block, her eyes stared frantically left and right. What is it? What is it? She thought to herself before. Aha! She raced towards the imprecatory shop she had seen earlier in the day, during her brief visit to the markets. The lights were dim, and the store nearly closed for the night or in process thereof. Skating to a squeaky hole in front of it, she began to pound on the door, hoping someone was still inside.
Come away, we have closed,
Came an irately accented voice from inside. Please, she declared, this is an emergency.
My sleep is the only emergency I care about. Now go away and come back tomorrow.
Carrot Top didn't have time to wait. Who knew what horrible things might happen if she didn't act right away? Yet as she stared at the door's lock, it surprisingly failed to simply melt away under her incessant glare. Feeling as though she had no other choice, the farmer's head turned sharply and bucked with all of her not insubstantial strength. Against the years of hard work in those legs for plowing fields day in and day out, the door never stood a chance, splintering off its hinges in a single strike. A startled clerk behind the counter let out a shriek as he knocked his inventory book down to the ground in panic. Carrot Top briefly lamented her hesitation, but it was completely replaced with an unwavering contents of absolute purpose. The pale-colored, purple-maned stallion held a hoof to his chest. His brown robes and cap, trimmed in red and gold, looked vaguely showman. Catching his breath, his yellow eyes glanced through the spectacles balanced on his snoot.
Now see here, lady. We are closed for the evening. Oh, and my door. You're going to have to pay for that.
The store's owner was understandably angry and rant, was cut short by the sound of coins scattering across the counter. Carrot Top had tossed a bag of bits containing her most sizable commission from her catering services.
This is more than covers the allowances and the inconvenience, but I need supplies now!
The shopkeeper seemed briefly torn between righteous indignation and the alluring pile of silver as it glanced into the soft candlelight.
Ah, yes. Well then, why didn't you just say so in the first place? What is it you'll need?
Carrot Top scarcely paid attention to the shopkeeper, who was already counting the assorted coins. Instead, her eyes were too busy sweeping across the various herbs and regions onto the crowded shelves around her. There'd be no time to brew anything from scratch. Her supplies would have to be fast-acting and ready-made, which wouldn't be cheap. She hoped to use the money she earned on the trip to pay for some new and maybe even some upgraded equipment for her farm. With a sigh, she pushed her worries aside and began pointing her home wildly about as she called out a list of items. There was a frantic knocking at the hell door. Willie answered to find his mother, completely disheveled and panting heavily.
Oh, thank goodness. You're safe.
Lizzie wheezed out between heavy breaths as she fell forward, wrapped her forearms around her son in a desperate embrace. The young priestess returned to Jester, and the two simply sat in silence for a long moment, as Lucy finally began to catch her breath, whispered to her.
It'll be all right, Mother. Just tell me what... No, it won't be all right. Nothing will ever be all right again. We have to leave, now. Pack your things as quick as you can. Wait, no, forget packing. There's no time. I don't understand. Where's everybody else? Did something go wrong? Everything went wrong. Lemon Hearts, she's some kind of monster. And after what she said about children, I'm still afraid she'd come here but you're safe and that's all that matters.
Woody gasped with relief.
A monster? But how? Wait, is that where all the others are? Are they trying to stop her? Yes. No. Maybe. I don't know. I left it behind. I had to get back here. I had to know you were safe.
Shh. He soothed as gently ran a hoof across his mother's whiskers.
It'll be okay. And I'm safe. Everybody else will be too. You'll see. Sarah Silverstar's there to protect them all.
Lucy shook her head sadly.
No, he got caught. He stayed behind to try to buy time so the rest of us get away. And I just left him behind. By Luna's merciful moon, I ran away. And now I might never see him again. What have I done? Don't blame yourself, Mother.
Woody said as he wiped away the tears streaming down the distraught mare's face.
It's not what he would have wanted. Not if he really did make that kind of sacrifice for you and the others.
Maybe her son was right, but that did nothing to alleviate the guilt that was racking her body, and yet...
Okay, Woody. Now, pack your bags. We still have to level before any guards or worse shows up.
Young Stallion looked away, pausing for a long moment before he finally spoke.
I mean, I can't do that. What?
Her voice cracked slightly as one of her eyes twisted nervously.
Don't be silly. Now, be a good little boy, listen to Mommy, and pack your things.
Diaz let it colt. No, the growing stallion only shook his head.
Don't you see, Mother? I'm not just some little foal anymore. Somewhere out there, the others might be fighting. What if they need help? But I already told you, she's a monster. It's too dangerous, and I'm sure the others know it too. We all have to run away before it's too late. And then what? Somebody has to stay up and fight eventually, don't they? Isn't that why we all came here in the first place? Maybe it's not the enemy any of you were planning to fight. But does that make it any less important? But I can't, Shh. You don't have to, Mother. You should stay here where it's safe. You've always been there for me as a child. Now that I'm all grown up, I'm sorry, let me return the favor. I could be more than brave enough for the both of us. But please, it'll be okay, I promise, he said as he opened up the hotel window. I'll find the others first. We'll figure out a plan, and when it's done, I'll come back. You'll see.
Silhouetted against the pale moonlight, her son spread his wings and flew off into the star-filled sky. Lizzie trembled as she watched him go. When her little colt had all grown up, why did he have to be so brave? She couldn't handle this. Not again. First her late husband, then Silver Star, and now her son, the last thing she had left. All of this so much braver than she could ever hope to be. This wasn't fair. Why did she have to watch as the ponies she loved always left her behind? Or still, what kind of coward was she to just let them? Still, trembling, she walked to the door. Maybe it wasn't too late. Maybe she could still... Only she could muster the courage to take that first step. Maybe it didn't have to be too late. Just one step it would all take. One secret step, and then another. She instantly raised a hoof, but then set it back down where it started. She raised another, yet only repeated the same. She was just so scared.
I'm sorry,
she whispered hoarsely, as the weight of that realization came down upon her. The American only collapsed to the ground. Lucy screamed uncontrollably, unable to find the strength to do anything but wallow in her own hopeless misery.
Ow!
Out! Twilight cried as Applejack thumped her horn a second time. I warned you to try and not escape and using none of them fancy unicorn tricks.
But I wasn't trying to.
You might lay in the glove, but I could see her here at home. Used to hit my paw wrestle Blake dogs, so I had to learn real good how to anticipate when them ornery critters were about to pop in or out.
But unicorn magic doesn't even work the same way.
Like a story, Macy. We ain't gonna have no repeats how you got away back in Pillarville, and I'm gonna make sure you stay put until we can get a guard to take over. Oh, there is no way Blake dogs can actually exist. Well, how about that? They exist? I'm so using those.
But I can't. Not yet. Not like this.
Well, you should have thought about that before you went and dropped the giant star bear on my whole town. Whatever crazy thing you was up to here.
You don't understand, though. My parents. My brother. I had to make all this right first. I can't go back to them in a disgrace.
Applejack's expression softened as he was distracted by thoughts of her own family at home. She briefly wondered what extremes she might go to avoid disappointing them. Maybe the unicorn wasn't so bad. Wait, there was that hum again.
Ow!
I cried after a third strike to horn.
All right, I won't try it anymore. Just please stop doing that before you break something.
Please. I know them unicorns ain't any more delicate than my own forelegs. Minutes passed in silence, neither pony having much to say to the other. Though at least true to her word, Twilight didn't try using any more magic. And so Applejack likewise refrained from striking her horn. Eventually there was a rustle of wings, followed by hoofs landing on the pavement behind her. Mindful that her prisoner might still try to escape, Applejack spoke without turning to look at the newcomer. Look, I know this probably looks more like a mass suspicious, but I'll need whoever you are to believe that this here is a wanted fugitive. So you ain't a guard, I need you to go in.
Miss Twilight?
Startled that whoever it was already knew the unicorn's name, Applejack turned, not sure what to expect. What I saw, though, surprised her even more. A dull, blue-coated coat, maybe a year or two shy of being a proper stallion, with a dusty brown mane. Kid, how does he know who this here unicorn was?
Pegasus scowled. I'm no kid. Spreading his wings wide, he puffed up his chest. And I want to know who you think you are trying to tie up Miss Twilight like that. Elzak scowled in turn, but not at the young Pegasus. Instead, she glanced back at her unicorn president. Dang name it, girl! You don't say you're going to Dark Dragon a bunch of other ponies into this mess of yours, but some punk kid at this point ain't right. I didn't drag him into this. Well, not exactly. You see, his mother... Stop it! Stop it right there before you say something that'll make me have no more compunction about bucking you like you're a rotten tree that needs to be uprooted. Don't you dare hurt Miss Twilight, or you'll what, kid? She said, cracking her neck and scuffing a hoof against the pavement. Seeing the despondent confusion on his face, however, Elzak's stern reprimand gave way to concern. Look, kid, I don't know what this here criminal did to conflate you otherwise, but she ain't good for nothing but trouble. Now, you run along home and I'll forget you was ever here. She helped save my mom. So what now? My mother. After my father died, my mother was all I had left. Woody paused to sniffle slightly before continuing. Except she wasn't right in the head anymore. I did my best to take care of her. Same as always, she used to take care of me. But she never got any better. Even the sheriff couldn't. But then Madame Hearts, and everything was right again. Except now. Miss Twilight, is it true? Is Madame Hearts really some kind of monster? Twilight's sensitive expression said everything, but she still spoke. I don't know what she is. All I know is that she's out there, somewhere in the night, doing who knows what kind of terrible things. It's all my fault. And the sheriff? Mother said you left them all behind. Woody, But the unicorn couldn't finish the Fro's words. Just go home. Get your mother, leave, and never look back. You'll both be better off if you forget I ever came along and screwed everything up. No! You're not a screw-up. You were supposed to be a hero, all of you. Heroes don't give up. The sheriff would sacrifice himself just so you could give up. I don't care what mistakes you made. Heroes face their mistakes. Woody, any guilt he previously had paled in comparison to what he was feeling now. I can't. Maybe I thought I was, but I'm no hero. You'll understand when you're older. When I'm older. Always when I'm older. Woody snorted in frustration. But I'm plenty old enough already. I understand everything I need to. You can fix this. I know it, and so do you. You're just too afraid. Well, I'm not afraid. I'll fix this, even if I have to do it alone. Look, kid, intervened Applejack. I know what it's like to be young. Don't think you got all the answers. And every point always does at your age. But what exactly it is you think you can really do? I don't know. I'm gonna try. Some point has to. If we don't at least try, then the bad guys win! Elzak opened her mouth to retort, but no words came. The kid was young and just as naive as any other, but he had such a passionate fire in his eyes. How could she ever go home and look at her younger sister again if she did anything to crush this boy's spirit? As the farmer molded over, she was interrupted when Twilight finally spoke. Alright then. This is all my mess, so, well, I guess it really is my responsibility to clean up. Just last time. Elzak turned to see what she had been distracted. The unicorn had magically abandoned herself. Well, you ain't going nowhere, Missy. The guard can handle. You won't know what it is up there until it's too late. Maybe when this is over, I'll... She trailed off, unable to commit to any such promises that she actually surrendered herself. But right now, if there's anything I can do to stop this, I have to at least try. Please understand. But you, consider it all fine. Y'all ain't going off on your own that way. Twilight blinked. I appreciate the offer, but you don't owe me. Let's ain't about helping you. Understand that I'm only coming because somebody's got to make sure you don't go trying to run away again when it's all over. Besides, I also need to make sure this kid stays safe. As I reckon there ain't nothing either of us can say to keep him from coming either. Darn straight! Did just as quickly Woody covered his mouth with his hopes. Darn. Don't you go apologize for using such a word. Now, if you want what you believe that you're a white boy, you claim the boy. Turn back to Twilight, though. Elzak redressed her original concerns from when Carrot Top ran off. So, now that we're all in agreement, how do we go about finding this man-mare of yours? Using her magic, Twilight unlatched the silver clasp behind her ear and levitated forward. This should be all we need. A stallion stood on the street defiantly against the monster that had come out of nowhere and chased his family out of their home. Lemonheart scoffed impatiently at the futile jester. As he snapped a hoof in a flash, the stallion's mane came to life, rapidly growing constricted around him. He began crying out, but with a second flash,
His mouth disappeared, so she wouldn't have to listen to him. She had more important things to focus on, like the mare that was coddling an infant foal. I won't let you hurt my baby! Rolling her eyes, Lemonheart's picked with full civility. Oh, don't worry, dear. I have no interest in that mewling little voice box. It didn't inherit your gift. Wrapping mother and child in crimson aura, she magically tore the two ponies apart. Then another snap and a flash created a harness from a nearby tree to deposit the child in. As he pressed the foal, Lemonhearts tapped his head, causing the foal's eyes to briefly spiral as the color seemed to drain from its coat. Finally silencing in his incessant wailing, a third snap and a flash created chocolate milk for it to suckle on. Besides, soon enough, you won't have to worry about any of that ever again. Mama's gonna make it all better. The madmare's eyes started to penetrate the despondent mother to the core, reaching into the hidden depths of her soul. But Lemonhearts was only able to take a single step before pop! Blinking after teleporting, Twilight took in the sight now standing before her. She had been shocked at Lemonheart's previous change of demeanor. The further physical changes that seemed to have followed were only all the more alarming. The formerly genial matron still had beady red pupils within sickly sclera, a mouth of predatory fangs and leathery wings. In addition, however, the mare's mane hung in wild and unkempt strands. Streaks of white interspersed in her natural blue. But this was the least of things. So, not only has she gone full Discord, but she has gone into nightmare mode! Well, mode! The unicorn's horn now curved backwards, seemed to have taken on almost like darker-like edge. In addition, her skull also somehow sported a pair of spiraling antlers. Her hooves were now split down to meet middle, having become cloven like those of a goat, and also trailed overly long and shaggy fetlocks. More disturbingly still, her entire posture seemed more that of a cat than a pony. Fitting, perhaps, as her tail was now long and thin, with only a small tuft at the end, like that of a lion. Most unsettling, however, was her voice. It was still as smooth and refined as ever, but now carried an undeniable air of malice in almost in every syllable. The effect was both seamlessly subtle, yet so profound, Twilight couldn't help but wonder if this is how Lemonhearts had always spoken, but somehow she failed to notice that just now. Why, Miss Sparkle? So glad you could join us. Reaching up with her crimson aura, Lemonhearts pulled a silver clasp from her own ear. I suppose we won't be needing these silly trinkets anymore then! She tossed the clasp away. She then took notice that the other 2 ponies were still recuperating from the trip. Oh, and I see you brought more friends to play with. How delightful. Good day, Woody. I trust your mother is still doing well. I hate to think that she suffered any kind of relapse. Woody stared in a mixture of shocked horror and silent defiance. Before he could speak, Applejack here seated. Now you listen here, Missy. I don't know who you think you are, but that ain't way to talk to the boy. Oh, and who do we have here? One of the caterers, I believe. Miss Applejack, wasn't it? Tell me, dearie, what pathetic sob story did Miss Sparkle spin that garnered your sympathies? Ain't none of your business. All you need to know is that I'm here to help put you down. Please. Best run along now, little farm girl, and take the rest with you. Then in a mocking accent she added, all y'all need to tire out your look here. And not pulling that again before finishing. Now then, if you'll kindly excuse me, my meal's getting cold. Turning her attention back to her, still petrified victim, Lemonhearts took another step forward, only to quickly found herself encased in a translucent bubble. Don't bother trying to escape, Twilight declared with confident pride. My brother is the best shield mage to join the Royal Guard in 3 generations, and he taught me everything he knows. Rolling her eyes with increasing impatience, Lemonhearts reached forward with a common hoof as he flicked the tips together. One snap and a flash later, she turned the doorknob, was now during the inside of the bubble shield. With an audible creak of uncoiled hinges, the sides of the door swung open, and Lemonhearts casually stepped out. I'm afraid you'll have to do better than that, dearie. Twilight stood gaping only for a second before she lit her horn and fired off a lancing beam of raw magic. Lemonhearts, however, only yawned, as the possibility she somehow not only caught the beam of energy, but curled it up as if it were a ball of yarn. So he completed the effect by levitating a pair of knitting needles. What he, God knows, was that proceeded they absolutely worked at the ball without Lemon Hearts herself seeming to pay attention. How? Until I could only stare in disbelief. None of this made any sense. Yes, the amulet was powerful to the extreme, but not even a true Alicorn's magic could be so effortless. Lemon Hearts should still obey all fundamental governing rules that now defied how magic works. But this, just like the dragon before, this was also impossibly alien to everything the scholarly unicorn had ever been taught or learned, as if to defy conceivable definition. What kind of monster was Lemon Hearts? A being of chaos. A true monster. Twilight was broken out of her thoughts as the other mare paced towards her, chuckling. It really does frustrate you, doesn't it? All your supposed knowledge, and yet this world still holds mysteries beyond your feeble comprehension. This is the dawning of a new age, however, my dear, and you'll have plenty of time to puzzle it out. That is, assuming you run along before I grow bored of our games and accidentally break something. Maybe you should. I reckon you should worry more about yourself, seeing as you've got yourself surrounded. Lemon Hearts didn't even bother glancing forward at the 2 ponies who had circled around her, flying from behind. Careful now, dearie. You don't want to make my pets angry. Players. Then as if on cue, rushing from behind, Hipster turned to see a dozen animated temporary of various shapes and sizes stalking towards herself and Woody. As the other 2 ponies were forced to break off and engage the walking foliage, Lemon Hearts continued speaking with Twilight, as if he was never been interrupted. So, what's next, my dear? What amazing feat of magical prowess will the great and powerful Twilight Sparkle use to save the day and at long last prove herself the supposed hero of this story? I'll tell you what. I'll even give you a free shot. Take all the time you need to cast any spell you like. Twilight was being baited. She knew it, and yet still she should at least try. Lighting up her harness and with her small sun, Twilight charged every ounce of magic she could muster. As the power continued to mount, both ponies were surrounded by a swirling gale. Lemon Hearts, however, paid it no heed. Instead, seemingly more interested in examining the back of her own hoof. Finally, Twilight released a cascade, surrounding Lemon Hearts in not 1, not 2, but 3 bubble shields. Then, with a metaphysical tug, she collapsed each shield down onto the next, until transparent domes became nearly opaque. Triple layer shield. Twilight began to gasp for breath before beginning. Each perfectly phased, synced to reinforce the other. Impossible to break any one of the other while the other 2 are still in place. Really, dear, set the limit of your skills. If you first succeed, just try an even bigger version of the same spell that already failed. A sudden pressure on her back caused Twilight to turn her head, only to find Lemon Heart staring back at her as she leaned across the other unicorn's back. Stepping away in alarm, Twilight saw the mare that should have been imprisoned in her shield casually smiling, leaning in on thin air as if Twilight herself was still standing there to support her weight. Grinning, the matriarch further taunted, Care to take a mulligan? Impossible! Lemon Hearts couldn't have teleported, expert as she was. Twilight wasn't sure she could even escape out of such a trap, certainly not so effortlessly. Not to mention Twilight had been watching her the whole time, glancing at her own still fully intact, yet entirely empty shield spell. However, only confirmed that it somehow happened anyway. Nothing about this made any sense. Magic just didn't work this way. But Lemon Hearts was even using magic? Now that Twilight thought about it, other than the occasional battle of levitation, Lemon Hearts hadn't seemed to cast a single spell at all this whole time. Not even so much as a single twinkle. Her horn seemingly inert. Or was it? Blinking, Twilight reset with her own magical senses. The aura of the amulet was intense, making it difficult to discern anything else. As she looked past it, finally she saw a comparatively faint shimmer of a minor cantrip. No, that wasn't it at all. The power was every bit as intense as an amulet, but it was all focused inwards, which made only even less sense. Where was all that magic going? It just seemed to be emptying out into some endless void inside the monstrous mad mare. Really? Lemon Hearts pressed, bored and exasperation as he rolled over midair. At first, it was kind of funny watching your inept attempts to understand things you couldn't possibly hope to comprehend. But now, it's so sad. You aren't going to make a move. Maybe it's time I should take my turn.
You want something different? Twilight grunted as he siphoned what messages he could back out the now useless shield, rechannelling the air to into a new spell. How about this? Some unseen force flipped, and Lemon Heart's mane leapt, or rather hung as she were upside down, but otherwise she remained perfectly stationary where she was. A gravity spell, and outdoors no less, with nowhere to fall except the empty sky above. I must say, Miss Sparkle, I didn't think you had such malice in you. What? Twilight winced at the implication. No, I never! Besides, you have wings.
Lemon Heart tilted her head before slightly looking at her own back. So it seems I do.
Twilight blinked.
Did Ratrion really not notice until now? Or this was another part of her twisted games? Pity. And just when I was starting to think there might actually be some help for you. Alas, I think we're done here. She sneered, baring her predatory fangs as she glared at sadistic intent. So, I'll just have to return this last gift and send you on your way. Au revoir! The younger unicorn barely had a moment to contemplate those words before an intense sensation of vertigo gripped her. Then the ground fell away. Or rather, Twilight fell into the sky, victim of her own spell. Her panic screams were cut short, however, when almost as quickly a streak of white swept through the air and grabbed her. Heart still racing, Twilight turned her head to observe the massive mug grinning back at her. Just before his owner bellowed, "Yeah!" Lemon Heart was scarcely paying enough attention to be annoyed by the would-be interloper before another voice called out,
Hi, you! Cots!
Glancing, Demetrian had enough time to see what looked like an acorn arc through the air before it struck the ground directly in front of her, bursting apart in a blinding surge of light, followed by an equally thunderous roar. Carrot Top stood across the way, sling still in mouth. She might have been proud of her handiwork, if she were more preoccupied ridiculing her rather foolish taunt. She took precious little time to dwell on it, however, before noticing the commotion further along where Applejack and a young Pegasus were fighting off a pack of what seemed to be decorative lawn sculptures. She didn't even take time to contemplate why or how her fellow farmer had gotten involved, instead of calling out, "Don't worry, AJ! Help us here!" "Let's embrace it, girl, but ain't no hurry to fight all the Timberwolves back home." And as if to punctuate the point, Applejack knocked one of the assailing Tupperware's heads clean off of a tree-shaking buck. "A kill over there could probably use your help, I reckon." The dull blue Pegasus flustered as he briefly took the air to dodge the lines.
Just keeping them distracted, that's all."
Already searching through her scuffle saddlebags, Carrot Top called out instructions.
Well, maybe if you two could get them all clustered together, I think I have something that would work, but I only got enough for one shot. Kaido!
Applejack said, taking one end of her rope and tossed it to the other.
Hey, Kaido! Kaius!
She took off to the gal to the left. After only a moment's hesitation, the young Pegasus did the same to the right. The two ponies circled it wide around the pack of floaters, crisscrossing the pass at the far side, close to the noose. Pulling hard, they caused the animated plants to all tumble together in a tangled heap. Meanwhile, Carrot Top loaded a bloated spore pod into her sling, then lobbed it into the crown of plant beast. The pod burst open on impact, billowing forth a sickly cloud of smoke.
Mr. Author! Are you a fan of One Piece? I'm just curious because Carrot Top is pulling an Usopp.
As the air cleared, the temporary stall stood, mere wooden skeletons stripped of their leaves by the defoliating cloud, each seemed to glance down at its naked form, before crossing a limb what could only be described as embarrassment, then quickly running away into the night. Carrot Top scratched the back of her mane with one hoof.
Well,
That wasn't exactly what I expected.
Don't much reckon admire so long as it worked,
replied Applejack as she and the young Pegasus walked over towards her. You gotta admit,
It was kind of funny, though.
added a gray-coated, green-maned Earthman who'd also joined the trio.
Right when he had so good. Wasn't expecting to find you here.
Applejack scowled.
I take it y'all must be the other fools that Twilight content to helping her.
Guilty as charged, she replied with an exaggerated bow and good grin. The name's covered, Toms. I'll just hear a snowflake. She indicated to the overly large Pegasus landed, while settling Twilight down beside him.
A lucky thing the two of us ran into Bessie head here.
Carrot Top, muttered the owners with a weak sigh, as if not for the first time. The caller noticed the interjection. She gave no indication. I knew once when we did, the three of us would eventually find you two. Oh, I guess my luck is finally changing for the better. The sextet was interrupted by Lemon Heart's trilling laughter. Oh, I'm afraid you'll find that the only thing that's changed about your luck is that it's finally out. Although, seeing as you brought the so-called element of generosity herself with you. Ranger pauses. She sits in her gaze to regard Carrot Top. Well, I suppose your luck was actually good for something after all. You, well, stammered Carrot Top in retort, struggling to come up with a rebuttal of her own, while she reached over to her saddlebags. Well, that is, you shouldn't be overconfident. If you know I'm the bearer of harmony, then you know I've faced worse than you before, and I'll do everything I can to stop you, too. Please. Scoffed Lemon Hearts. All alone and not even your harmonic necklace. This will be all too easy. Fitting, really, that the most useless element of the elements of harmony would be the first to fall. Note to self, talk about that in the review. The only thing generosity has ever been good for is as something to be exploited by those of us with real ambition. That's not, I mean, don't you listen to this here ornery varmint, interrupted Applejack. You ain't weak. You certainly ain't alone either. Yeah! Shouted Snowflake as Woody nodded with his own enthusiasm. Ha! Clover added as he pointed a hoof at Lemon Hearts. 6 of us are on the other of you. Even without the creeping amulet, I say we are the ones with the advantage here. Advantage? Lemon Hearts chided a cross between a sneer and a chortle. My. It seems your sense of humor certainly hasn't improved either, Miss Charms. The only reason this supposed confrontation isn't already over is because it amuses me to toy with a lot of you. If this is all just a game to you, why don't you try playing with this? Carrot Top as she tossed the ball of compacted yellow powder, which burst into a cloud of impact. As the cloud collapses, however, it is now occupied not by Lemon Hearts, but rather snowflakes. Yeah! The snowflake sniffled. Yeah! Yeah, choo! As the Pegasus uncontrollably sneezed over and over again, the 5 other ponies all quickly turned to look where he had previously been standing, mere moments before, only to find empty air. Oh, please, I'm not that predictable. Teased Lemon Hearts aside from Applejack instead. Not even missing a beat, the farm pony spun in her hose to deliver a full buck to the madmare's face. Or at least she would have, if the pavement had beneath her hadn't simply slipped out from under her, slipping as the momentum sent her careening out of control and crashed to the ground. Twirling a mop in one hoof, Lemon Hearts snickered, My, you certainly should be mindful of the signs. She then pointed a handle at the mop at the triangular stand that read, Slippery when wet, which, like the soapy subs beneath Applejack, hadn't been there only moments earlier. Clover Charms giggled briefly, though quickly noting stares from the rest of their allies and mentioned, Sorry, but you got to admit it was kind of funny. Or, I guess it would be if this sort of stage show. Why, Miss Charms. What an excellent idea. Might as well make the most of our fun while it lasts. With a snap of one hoof and a corresponding flash of light, the matron summoned her pack of topiary. All were still naked, but were now also standing erect while bearing an assortment of different instruments, which they began to play as their mistress began to sing. I must admit your jokes are amusing. In truth, you're no more funny than a rat. But here's your chance to shine as center stage, though it's all for naught. Such a fool! Never had a shot. You can try to charge me in a big harumph, but your namby-pamby can't cut the gruff. Let's set the record straight. You're simply overweight. You're only second rate. Wanna prove you're no weenie? But it's just the same. You're not ready to play the grown-up scheme. Crawl on home, boy. Don't make your mommy wait. You're only second rate. You're sour. That my power has you squealing. The battle's won and you're all done. Get the gist. But if you're not convinced that I'm invincible, bring it on. Who's next? I'm only warming up, you little pez. Try to trust me up and win the prize. Trip, stumble, and slip so silly you is. Such a damage in your wake, it suits a retro shape. You're only second rate. Your puny efficacious aren't tough enough, and your concentration's never measured up. You'll try to abjurate, but it's all a waste. You're always second rate. Wrestle dazzle frazzle. I'm gonna leave you addled. Hocus pocus doofus. Who needs a brain and a head so useless? Spare me your pretentious glare. It's ridiculous when you have no hair. Now you're so irate and losing to this fake. Put your backs to the wall with no hope for escape. Out of moves to make and throughout the finals checkmate. You're only second. The song stopped short. Carrot Top having what was initially a small glob of goo at the madmare, only for it suddenly to explode on contact with the unicorn's horn. Lemon Heart stressed curiously about, covered from head to hoof in a sucky slime. Who's second to right now, huh? Don't even bother struggling. It doesn't matter how powerful your magic is. You only get more stuck. That's Tanglehoof Muck! Carrot Top blinked in surprise, realized that Lemon Hearts had spoken those last words in unison with her. The entangled Megatron had quickly reasserted her calm demeanor as he overtook the explanation. A rare parasitic fungus found in the Everfree Forest was earned its names because of the trouble it caused the early Earth Pony settlers in that region. It feeds and grows by absorbing certain types of ambient magic, most notably the kind constantly channeled through an Earth Pony's hooves, but it can also be quite effective against the unicorn's horn, and with the unicorn amulet enhancing all my natural pony magic, well, I must admit, the effect is only the more impressive. How very clever of you. Yeah, you, took the words right out of my mouth. More literally than you can imagine. Taunted the madmare with far more confidence than her situation seemed to warrant. You see, I also know that it's so rare that you didn't even know about it until a month ago, when you accidentally stumbled onto a patch. And even after you managed to get out, it took you 3 days to clean all the residue out of that precious mane of yours. Anger boiled up as Carrot Top scratched absently at the bald neck. Somewhere in the back of her mind, she worried whether her mane would ever grow back after what Lemon Hearts had done. More so, however, she found herself puzzling about another confusing uncertainty. But how could you know about that incident? Oh, that's hardly the only secret of yours I know, dearie. Then, as Lemon Heart stared out at her own front hooves, twin beams glanced from her eyes, evaporating the gunk and staring them. Confusion turned to shocked disbelief, both because of how the unicorn was doing, because it was all more alarming that it even worked at all. It should have been possible. Any spell that could have made the Tanglehoof expand, it was impossible. Yes, Miss Sparkle over there has been repeatedly thinking that same thing all night long. Lemon Hearts commented absently, as he levitated a mirror to reflect her eye beams, cleaning away the rest of the slimy fungus. Amusing as that confusion has been, it's actually starting to get quite boring. Oh yes, I did choose this method of escape just to taunt you specifically. But how could... Talent, my dear. Every pony has one. Whatever else you may think of me, I was born a pony and earned my cutie mark just like any other young filly. Unicorn turned half about and with one final blast eliminated the last of the goo, covering the trio of hearts on her flank. Mine happens to represent empathy. That is to say, I can read the emotions of other ponies. An exceedingly useful skill when it comes to manipulating them into doing whatever I want, without them ever being the wiser. Glancing briefly aside, Lemon Hearts further added, trying to scrape those last few neurons together, let us sparkle. Let me put it in terms even a simpleton understands. You've been nothing but a pawn from the very start. Still, I must thank you for leading me to this delightful little trinket. The alicorn amulet enhances everything about a pony, so you might as well even be all open books to me. Lemon Hearts casually threw the pages of a book, the cover of which was the same lavender as Twilight's coat, and featured an image of her starburst cutie mark. Such a tragic tale, but at least it's not as boring as this one. She yawned as he levitated a second book, featuring a trio of carrots emblazoned on its cover, before tossing both aside into a pile of other books that least each wise bore a cutie mark. Madmare demandingly stalked forward, once again fixated on Carrot Top, who backpedaled awkwardly, while frantically fumbling through her saddlebag, looking for some reason that might help win her out. What's the matter, little hayseed? Want to have weeds to throw at me? Or have you finally realized that nothing in your little bag of tricks will never make even the slightest difference? Well, that is, look, you might think you're unstoppable, but so did Corona. She never believed that 6 ordinary ponies could stop her either. But thanks to the bonds of friendship between us, my friends and I proved that even ordinary ponies can do the impossible. Even as they were all still railing for the various sexes Love and Hearts had placed on them, the other 5 ponies all rallied as best they could to stand next to Carrot Top in a show of utter defiance. Brave words, little pony, but all your supposed faith, they're still only empty words. I can see into your heart, remember. Whatever supposed bonds you share with your real friends, this ragtag bang of misfits is no substitute. I can see the resentment you still haunt towards your fellow farmer. How far unfair you still think it is that she's more successful than you by mere accident of birth. I also see how afraid you are, Miss Sparkle. Oh, and not just fear, but a repressed anger, too. You blame her for all of this. Most of all for having picked someone as wretched as your would-be replacement. While as for the rest, you hardly even know them. No, that matters. I barely knew any of my friends before either. Sandy and Ditzy were both nice ponies, but we never used to speak more than the casual courtesy of a passerby. As for Raindrops, sure, I was scared of her. Every pony who's never taken the time to see her temper is. As Carrot Top made her speech, Clover Charms heard her rallying, as something in her own saddlebags began to vibrate. Every pony. She started to mumble as she glanced uncertainly over her shoulder. Oh, don't even get me started on Trixie, Carrot Top continued on without notice. When I first met her, she might as well have been just another pretentious, troubling-making snob. Even if I never acted on it, there was still part of me back then that, like the rest of the town, wanted to blame Trixie for somehow bringing down Corona's wrath upon us all. In the end of that, however, none of that mattered. And with each new day we spent together since, I wonder how I ever got by without them. Because friendship is magic! With those words, Cora's saddlebags exploded, and Crumble's flakes of gold and shattered crystal burst forth. Every pony stared at confused science as the fragments began to orbit each of them in turn. And as they did, the lingering changes Lemon Hearts had inflicted on them were also reversed. Finally, it was Twilight who spoke first. Wait, but these are the copy elements of harmony we tried to make. How? Why would you even... Oh no, Clover replied, scratching his back and remained. I figured that even if they didn't work, they might make great souvenirs. I guess I really did live up to my nickname of in a good way after all, no? She grabbed her biggest grin yet, and every pony stared at it. Well, almost every pony. No! No! Raged Lemon Hearts. This is impossible! And now who's falling? The cutter increasingly emboldened Carrot Top as he pressed the advantage. Nothing's impossible when we have friendship, the most powerful magic of all on our side. And with that, the floating fragments coalesced about their new hosts in a radiant display of multi-hued light. 5 necklaces formed and launched about 5 necks, each bearing a jeweled representative of his cutie mark. A clover, dumbbell, a carving chisel, an apple, and even a starburst. Lastly, the diadem topped by a carrot-shaped gem was formed, was floating gently down upon Carrot Top's head. One by one, each pony began to levitate in the air. Carrot Top could scarcely believe it was all happening again, just like the first time. Only this time she was the central foundation. Did that make her the element of magic now? Or she was still generosity for this new team too? Could she be something above at once? Not that it mattered either way, though, because any moment now the primal forces of harmony would build to an unstoppable crescendo, and they would vanquish the foul beast, the pretender. Any moment now! Suddenly the 6 ponies instead all dropped unceremoniously from the air. As he groaned, Carrot Top had barely contemplated her aching flank, and where something liquid began to run from her eyes. She swiped it away and stared at the golden residue on her hoof. The crown was melting. Looking around, she saw the 5 necklaces doing the same. Mocking laughter roared out above. Oh my! I knew we did the skits already tonight, but I just couldn't resist an encore! You just all want it so badly, how could I not indulge? It was then they all realized what had happened. There had never been any magic, any friendship, only a cruel prank by the heartless monster. Oh, if you could only see the looks on all your precious little faces, to see your hopes dashed to pieces. I think I'm finally starting to see the appeal of this megalomaniacal villain routine. Lemon Hearts rolled a ladder, befitting such a revelation. But then in an instant she stopped flat. She said to deadpan's near. So then, now do you understand, my little ponies? You are nothing compared to me, and there won't be any miraculous artifacts of power to save you this time. It wasn't fair. They'd done everything right, but it hadn't been enough. Without the real elements of harmony, without her real friends, what hope did Carrot Top have against this abomination? And her own artifact of power. Maybe they did have one last hope after all. As though with dawning realization, Carrot Top snapped back. Like you're one to talk! You're not even fighting fair, and if it weren't for that amulet, you'd be just as powerless. Lemonhearts chortled. Oh, and I suppose now I'm supposed to play to your little ploy? I'm the villain after all. And aren't we all just too arrogantly overconfident in our own superiority? You still don't get it, do you, garden brain? My power is that of the primal forces of chaos, and the boundless antithesis of all things harmonious. My birthright might be the only fraction of that endless wellspring, but even the smallest piece of the infinite is still infinite as itself. Blinking once in contemplation, the Mammoth's eyes snapped open wide. That's it. That's why I can no longer sate my hunger. Just as the infinite can't be diminished through diversion, neither can it be enhanced through addition. All these years, it's never been anything more than a placebo, giving me the confidence to tap deeper and deeper into the power that was always mine to begin with. But now I finally understand. I understand everything! Leonhardt spiraled as he settled further into the air, cackling as he continued to rant. The secrets of the universe are laid bare before my all-seeing eyes. The very fabric of my creation is mine to command, to control! All around reality worked at the mad mare's gesture. The ground rippled as it was seemingly replaced by a giant checkerboard. Buildings were twisted into surreal architectural parodies, and every wheel in the city turned square. Even the stars in the heavens seemed to quaver and shake in fear. Stopping to sharp, the twisted Madmare glanced down at her own neck. And just to prove how meaningless this paltry trinket is! With a glow from her horns, she undid the clasp, and as she levitated the amulet away, the aura surrounding it faded from red back to her natural teal. Nothing else about her monstrous appearance returned to normal, however. In fact, it only seemed to grow somehow more distorted. Then with a flash, the pavement to 6 ponies' helpless hooves turned into a goody quagmire or caramel. See? My power remains absolute! You are all still hopelessly outmatched! As Carrot Top struggled to extricate herself from the sticky mess, she suddenly found that the amulet had been levitated down to her, hanging temptingly just out of host's reach. Here, let this be my parting gift to you. Not it'll make any difference. My might will indulge you all the same. It is the dawning of the new world, after all, and a mare as pathetically as useless as you will need every advantage she can get! As the amulet slowly levitated closer and closer, Carrot Top could thought she hear something, almost like whispering, as if the artifact was calling out to her. It had no real voice, yet it spoke all the same, filling her head with promises of untold power. The power to do anything she ever imagined and more. She could see herself reflected in the ruby at its center, her own eyes gleaming not only with power, but with confidence. Never again would she be any pony's doormat. All she had to do was reach out and take it. Slowly, the farmer lifted one hoof, no longer restrained by the sticky caramel. Inch by tantalizing inch, she reached out till finally she touched the amulet, feeling the first taste of power tinkling through her. She also felt the back of her own mane lifting out of the way to make it easier to fasten the clasp around her neck. Only belatedly did Carrot Top realize that she stood up on her hind legs, was using one forefoot to brush her mane aside, as he still released with the amulet with the other. Yes, the amulet seemed to soothe. Take me, and you too can realize your unlimited potential. Even the merest trickle of the amulet's power was intoxicating. Carrot Top felt herself longing to drink even deeper of it. This is what it meant to be important, to actually be somebody special. Not just one insignificant member of a team, but the power that was hers and hers all alone. All she had to do was fasten the clasp, and she would never need any pony else ever again. No! Of her own sudden declaration, Carrot Top instead batted the amulet away. Any whispered plea the cursed artifact might have had fell silent as it clattered to roll against the remaining pavement until it fell into a storm drain, washing away to parts unknown. I never wanted power. Well, I guess that I think I did. Or rather, what I wanted was a shortcut. But thanks to my friends, including Applejack, I learned there are so many more important things in life than wealth or fame. I'm happy just being myself. A simple man with simple dreams. Ha! Such ridiculous nonsense. And I thought I maybe could open your eyes to the truth of the world. But I now see my efforts were only wasted on such an ignorantly pathetic creature. You're the one who's pathetic. Even without that cursed armor, you're still nothing more but a wretched, lonely monster. What good is all the power in the world if you got no pony to share it with? Share? Why would I bother with such a useless sentimentality? What has any pony ever done for me? From the day I was born, even my own family considered me nothing but a tool. One more stepping stone in some old fool's own delusional schemes. That is, until I discover how I could steal it for myself instead. I had to take everything I had, so I could finally be free, with the purchase of a second item of equal or lesser value. Everybody blinked at the bizarre non sequitur. Even Lemonheart herself caught the hoof at her own mouth inside an arm. Only it wasn't a hoof at all. It was a lobster claw. Whether Sybil's composure the matron had been maintaining broke at the sight of it. She stared in horror. Horror that only doubled as she raised the opposite leg to find her other hoof replaced by a mismatching rhino hoof. No. Impossible. It can't happen. Not like this! She thrust about midair, twisting her increasingly elongating, snooty body about as its floor changes cascaded all across it. All the while, the glowing order of her unicorn horn grew ever and ever increasing brighter. My fence was supposed to be unbreakable! She wailed as the one antler twisted down, turning to something more like that of a ram. I'm not like the rest of those weaklings. I'm better. The best around! Nothing ever gonna keep me down! Flight only corkscrewed ever more erratically as one leathery dragon wing was replaced by a rapid gossamer fitting of a giant dragonfly. Yo! She hissed at Carrot Top as the rattle at the end of what became a snake's tail shook. This is all your fault. How could you trick me? Tricks are for kids! As she had one rear leg, now a rabbit, rapidly thumping against the midair. Control. I had to take back control. Alt. Delete! The world around her turned white. No, black. It wasn't blue. Red, maybe. The Lemonheart's unblinkable eyes, everything and nothing, all swarmed together into an impossible congregation. Worst of it, however, was the laughter. The incessant, mind-numbing laughter. All of it familiar.
Oh, you should see the look on your face. Priceless!
Crack! Her father, mother, siblings, assorted cousins, aunts, uncles, even her grandparents, great-grandparents, and more. No! You're gone! All of you! You can't hurt me anymore. I made sure of it, and I rose became so much more than any of you could ever have imagined! But that wasn't also all. There were also the children. One generation of orphans after the next, all of whom she had raised, nurtured, and did harvest to feed her own insatiable need for more. All of them joined in the laughter as well. Stop it! All of you! Just leave me alone! Crack! And the voices wouldn't listen, and only laughed the louder still. One laughing voice, however, rose above all the rest. A voice she never before heard, but its deep and sinister whimsy echoed there was no mistaking it belonged to the original progenitor of all her kind, that most foul and twisted of all monsters, the mad tyrant king himself, Discord! Poor, feeble little pony. Isn't this what you always wanted? All the infinite power of my beautiful chaos is finally yours. All the endless possibilities and limitless potential to do anything and everything. Hope you enjoyed the infinite madness that comes with it. Correct! Laughter faded to deafening silence. Sight, sound, and all of her other senses blurred together. She understood everything, and yet there was nothing to understand at all. The universe was both boundless, while also empty and devoid of all meaning. Seconds stretched until it became indistinguishable from eternities. There was no beginning, no end, not even a here or now. There was only crack! Then it all shattered. Somewhere, a young mare sat as he leaned heavily against the impassable barrier. A strength long gone sets futile pounding against it. Then, without warning, she fell backwards onto the cold pavement. Rolling over, but too exhausted to rise to her hose, she saw Crowley's still motionless form of her boyfriend. She shook him, begging and pleading that he wake up. There was no response. Tears streamed from her face, even though her voice was too choked to sob. That's until a hoof that was not hers reached to wipe them away. Opening her eyes, she looked down into the now smiling face beneath her, as she knew everything was good in the world again. Somewhere, a kitten became a dragon, to the surprise of several pony guards that were now sorting through the mess that had been made of Pousson's underground vault. Somewhere else, in a town even further away, Lost Heart's orphanage, a cold started to sleep as the gift of dreams entered once again into his young mind. As the blinding light cleared, 6 pairs of eyes blinked, wondering if they were safe, or even if they were still alive. Alzak was the first to break the silence. Is it over? All the reality seemed to reassert itself, mostly at least. The 6 ponies still found their hosts embedded in the street, but compared to the caramel it had been moments before, the already pavement was yielding enough for Applejack, Carrot Top, and Snowflake to muscle their way free with little difficulty. Twilight, meanwhile, used a well-fueled blast of her horn to extricate herself, then one more to help free the last of Clover's hosts as well. Only Woody had managed to get a single hoof free, before Snowflake simply lifted him out with a single tug. Carrot Top sighed. If I never have to deal with something that crazy again, it will be too soon! Suddenly a pair of bright green eyes were surrounded by a gray face to get most of her face in. But the other amazing! I mean, I heard about how you stood up to that big ugly Tyler's son, but to actually seeing a hero in action! Just as quickly, Carrot Top now found her safe with a face of bushy green tail, as the overenergetic mare hopped about on the spot. Hey, Thames, you're seriously not one of the real elements. I mean, it'd be cool if we could all be too, but Vesey here then. Carrot Top! The farmer began to correct. Not that the young mare ever listened. She seems like the little thing to me. Twilight stammered awkwardly as he rubbed one hoof against the opposite leg while averting her eyes. You darn tootin' she's the real deal! Interjected Applejack. This girl and her friends are the pride of Ponyville. Oh, of course they're really. Carrot Top blinked. Even with their feud behind him, even though it had always been mostly one-sided on her part, it still seemed strange to hear Applejack of all ponies singing her praise. After all the years he spent being envious of her fellow farmer, the contrast was particularly surreal out this entire insane evening. At the same time, Applejack turned her attention to Twilight. This is a heap more than I can slay for you. Hey? Clover shouted as she interposed herself in front of Twilight. Woody and Snowflake were also quick to take up equally defensive postures at either side. Twilight, or whatever you want to call her, was only trying to help. Yeah, right. Help herself, maybe, scoffed Applejack. I ain't really no different than the mess you made back in Ponyville, though. Don't mean much if she's the one who stirred up all the trouble in the first place. And that weren't enough, this time she dragged all you all in with her. The unicorn's got a whole heck of a lot to answer for, and... Pop! Applejack stared at the air where the 4 ponies had been previously standing. Then threw her head to the ground in frustration. Dang name it all! How did I go for kids she could do that? So one farmer priced over to her, rested her consoling hoof across her withers. It's okay, AJ. They'll come around one of these days. At least, I hope. Yeah, I guess, muttered Applejack glumly. But what now? Considering that question herself, Carrot Top stepped ever so slowly over to the edge of a still smoldering crater in the nearby pavement. She hesitated, before taking a deep breath and peering over the edge. After everything she had seen tonight, the simple part-time mare, and the part-time hero of the realm, wasn't sure what she expected to find. But what she saw only gave her further pause. At the bottom of the crater, through twisting and shuddering, lay an otherwise perfectly ordinary unicorn mare. Well, her horn was a shattered wreck. Listening closely, Carrot Top could hear the whispered jumble of incoherent nonsense. But otherwise, nothing to show that this pony had only minutes been some kind of twisted abomination. You must be careful there, Sugar Cube, Applejack warned as he tried up. Carrot Top frowned. She couldn't say she held any real sympathy for the monster turned mare again. Yet, see any pony reducing to such a quivering state gave her no satisfaction either. I don't think there's anything to worry about. Whether she was, I don't think she'll be hunting any pony ever again. In a nondescript alley, there was a magical pop as 4 ponies poured in. The 3 passengers all stood shakily, still disoriented from the unexpected experience. Hello? Clover sputtered just a bit, looking rather queasy. Would you wonder next
The next time you're going to do something like that, Thames. Twilight herself was only a little bit worse for wear herself, and still felt rather light headed from the exertion. Her mana reserves were incredibly deep, and teleportation was one of her most practiced spells, but the effort needed to bring in 3 additional points with her, such sort of notice over a long distance, and without even having a clear image of where she was going, still left her winded.
Sorry, I just couldn't let the rest of you get caught for my mistake.
Hey, no foul. Glover chirped in with a sing-song voice. This event has been the most fun I've ever had in, well, ever. I can't wait for the next one. Yeah! Twilight looked from Clever to Snowflake, each beamed with enthusiasm.
I'm sorry, but that just won't work.
Huh? What? You mean because we lost strips? The young man rubbed a hoof across the chin and brief contemplation before adding, actually, come to think of it, that would be the perfect idea for our next adventure. I bet working together we could bust him out of whatever joint old pussy's got him locked up. No sweat.
Really?
Woody had been looking about distractedly, but the mention of the sheriff turned his attention fully to the discussion of the hoof.
Can I help?
You'd better, kiddo, the Clover declared enthusiastically as he wrapped one hoof around the youngster's barrel, giving his mane a light tussle as he added, This is going to be so exciting. I can hardly wait. Yeah! No! All heads turned to Twilight. Oh, come on, Tibbs. The kid's proven he's got what it takes.
Not just him, all of you. There can't ever be a next time. I'm afraid this has to be goodbye.
Gordon's Clover's smile twisted ever so slightly. What? But why? We all make ourselves a great team. We have so much fun together, don't we?
Fun? Fun!
Replied Twilight, her words taking on an increasingly sharp frustration with each syllable.
Don't you get it, Clover? This isn't a game. Just listen to yourself. What you're suggesting is an outright jailbreak!
Clover merely waved a hoof dismissively. So what? We already broke into a noble's home to steal Bryce's artifacts from a private collection. As long as nobody gets hurt, why not bust strips out of the slammer?
You mean the same way no pony got hurt tonight?
Oh, come on. That was as bad as luck. Trust me, I'm an expert. There's no way any pony could have guessed on Lemsey would go all loco in the coco. Avoid Clover enthusiasm by making a spirally gesture of her hoof. What is it our fault?
It might not have been your fault, but it was mine.
Twilight sighed rarely, exhausted both physically and emotionally.
And not just with lemon hearts either. This whole plan was a mistake from the start. I was a fool to think I could solve my problems by dragging other ponies into this mess.
But we're friends, insisted Clover.
Not anymore. We can't be.
The unicorn said as he turned her back, all the while clenching her eyes tight in a vain attempt to hide her own pain.
It's for your own good. If any pony comes asking, just blame it all on me. Tell them I tricked you and that I used illegal mind control spells, whatever it takes. I'm already a fugitive. No loss to add to a few more nails to my coffin.
Twilight sword began to glow as he telling a teleportation spell.
This is where we have to say goodbye. Forever.
Rushing forward, Clover cried out, Tuds, wait! A little pop. It was already too late. A silent moment passed before Clover collapsed to the ground. Why? She could understand leaving behind Snowflake and Woody, Lucy too. They all had ties to go back to. But what else was left for herself? How was she supposed to go on without the best friend she ever had?
Why couldn't you take me with you?
Her lips quivered, and for the first time since the day she earned her cutie mark, the corners of her mouth crept below the horizon. She clenched her eyes, desperately trying to fight back the impending flood that would surely drown her. Without the shield that was her smile, what hope did she have left?
Oh, come here, Clover. Come here.
Before the dab could burst, a hoof lifted her chin. Looked at her head. Clover blinked to see, trying to see through the watery eyes, and there was still a face from a mug. He stared at her, inhaled deeply through his nostrils, and bellowed a single word. No! Then the stallion grinned. Or that he beamed, with the widest, dizziest smile only a pony with an overly large muzzle could. Such as the gesture was, there was no denying it. It looked so incredibly goofy. Clover began with a slight snicker, building a more pronounced chuckle, followed by an unrestrained giggling, until she dragged the muscle-bound pony to the ground and rolled with raucous laughter. Snowflake laughed too as well, as the other two ponies stumbled over each other again and again. Don't think I ever told him that one. Finally, as all tension bled away, Clover pushed him aside and climbed back to her house,
Well, thanks to you, big lug. I really needed that.
Yeah?
Heck yeah! So you're probably coming your phones together. I can't go feeling sorry for myself. Just listen to my style. Listening is what brought us all together. And, well, destiny is a mix and match monster. So this can't be the story's ends. I won't let it. Clover knew the odds were against her, but what did that matter? She'd been lucky enough to meet Timber once. Lucky enough to even get a second chance after that. As the saying goes, third time's the charm. So whenever her luck came around, once more she did meet up with her best friend. Clover would be sure that this time it would last forever. Where's the awesome music? Besides, she added with a bit of whimsical mirth, Tim still owes me a pair of those glimmering wings.